Final rescue. After more than 3 hours under constant siege, with every section of the ship's hull beginning to tremble under the relentless impacts from outside, Karath knew time was no longer on his side. The claws, fangs, and massive bodies of the native creatures battered against the alloy plating, metal designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Yet now it shuddered like a living thing on the brink of collapse. Inside the cabin, the air grew thick with the stench of scorched metal, dried blood, and overheated machinery, each breath scraping through his lungs like air forced through a dull blade. Karath retreated toward the central control chamber, fighting as he moved, like calculating every step. He knew that once he was cornered, this place would become his tomb. At last, the creatures broke through the outer barriers, flooding in like a black tide. Their roars reverberated through the enclosed space, shaking the hull itself. He swung his blade again and again, each strike heavy, precise, shattering bone, tearing flesh, forcing back the massive forms lunging at him in blind fury. Yet, even a warrior who had hunted across countless worlds could feel his limits closing in. His arms trembled with every swing. His lungs burned as if filled with molten metal. Old wounds screamed in protest. Still, he pressed on, retreating step by step, sealing bulkheads behind him until his back struck the final door leading to the central control chamber. With the last of his strength, Karath slammed the heavy steel door shut and locked the security seals. He leaned against it for a brief moment, an instant of fragile stillness, while the impacts outside continued to pound, growing more violent with every second, as though the entire planet itself sought to tear him apart. He lifted his head. His vision swam with exhaustion, yet his eyes still burned with the cold resolve of an unbroken warrior. With trembling fingers, he activated the emergency console and transmitted a coded signal through the dense atmosphere, a final call sent to his clan. A beam of crimson light pierced the clouded sky, ripping through it like a wound carved into the flesh of the world. Almost immediately, the creatures outside descended into madness. They howled, clawed, and hurled themselves against the hull with frenzied desperation, as if enraged that their prey was slipping away. Karath engaged the automated defense turrets. Streams of searing energy tore through the air, incinerating bodies mid-charge. Each blast shook the ship violently, each discharge draining what little power remained. Then, amid the chaos, the sky ignited. Massive beams of energy tore through the cloud cover, crashing down upon the surface like the wrath of ancient gods. From the blazing descent emerged the warships of Karath's clan. Tight formations, merciless precision, unleashing overwhelming firepower across the battlefield. The creatures that had nearly ended him were annihilated in moments, torn apart before they could even flee. Karath staggered back, bracing himself against the console as the familiar tremor of allied warships reverberated through the ground. Yacha warriors descended, engaging the remaining beasts with cold efficiency, while above them the fleet scorched the land until the planet itself seemed to recoil. The battle was brutal. Even with an entire fleet deployed, the enemy resisted fiercely. But at last, the tide turned. When the last of the creatures were driven back, Karath was escorted from the ship, his body broken, bloodied, yet his eyes still sharp with awareness. And with one final barrage, the fleet withdrew from the planet. Later, standing before his clan leader, Karath recounted everything: his failed hunt, the relentless pursuit, the moment he was forced to abandon pride in order to survive. His voice was steady. He did not beg, he did not excuse himself, and when he finished, there was no shame in his gaze, only fire. That world was no longer merely a place that had nearly killed him, it had become a challenge. And deep within, Karath knew, one day, he would return, not to survive, but to conquer.